experience consultant and founding principal of the Halsey Group, LLC, and author of The Freelancer's Guide to Corporate Event Design, From Technology Fundamentals to Scenic and Environmental Design. Troy, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. I've got way too much content, and I want to try and fit all of this in 25 minutes, so I'm going to be speaking very quickly, and I apologize for that, but please feel free to download this afterwards if there is anything that I glazed over, and at the end of the presentation I'll have my contact info that you are welcome to ask me for follow-up questions. All right, so designing for the senses, experience design. So let's start off real quick, and again, like I said, I'm going to kind of race through this, but let's start off by reviewing our 5 senses. So we have sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. We all know this. And if you didn't know that, you're going to be blown away by the rest of this presentation. Audio video has mastered sight and sound in the event business. We've got video screens. We've got every kind of technology out there to cover those 2 areas. But how do we incorporate our other 3 senses into the design? And, of course, as Murphy's Law has it, I have a frog in my throat, so I apologize for clearing my throat while we go through this. Okay, so we have sight, sound, as we talked about, but smell, taste, and touch. These are a little bit tougher to incorporate into event designs, but we do have air fresheners, scent machines, food and beverages, which are often overlooked for the impact that they have on an experience. And then, of course, we have negative smells that can impact an experience, such as the chemicals and bathroom smell and so forth. Food, again, the beverage station, mints and beverages, and then touch. So these seem like really obvious ones that how you're really going to incorporate those and what kind of impact would they have in the experience. Well, we're going to show you throughout this presentation. So designing for these senses means we're designing for the attendees. And that type of design is called experience design. So that is this whole presentation. I'm going to show you a system that we've put in place for designing experience designs. Now, we're a design consultant, and we work with AV companies and meeting planners and producers to help them win new business. We don't personally execute shows. We create proposals, we design the shows, and we hand it off with a bow on top and cross our fingers. So because of that business model, we get to see up to about 150 shows a year, and that's not an exaggeration. So we get live, real-time feedback from these types of designs. And this system that I'm going to show you is based on that feedback that we've seen what works and what doesn't work. And it's allowed us to maintain close to a 73% win/retention rate. So the system does work. So by designing for all of the senses, we increase our chances of that our message will reach all of the attendees. And that's because we all have a dominant sense. And do you know yours? Listen to the way that you talk, or it's sometimes easier to listen to other people talk. But do you see them using phrases like, I hear what you're saying, I see where you're coming from? Those are little hints at what type of dominant sense that they have. And one sales tactic to relate to people is you reiterate those types of words back to them. So that's just kind of a fun fact. And teachers know this. Teachers have been using this in the education system for years. And they've broken it down into 3 categories. You have auditory learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners. Auditory learners are kind of your traditional students. They love lectures. They learn by listening. Teachers will associate information with songs, spell info, repeat info. Just kidding. Visual learners are all about show. Associate the information with an image. Visualize the info. Kinesthetic learners are about moving. And so my sister-in-law is a teacher, and she said that she used to have the kids scoot on the ground with their behinds to write out words to teach them how to spell things. And the best type of lesson plan combines all 3. So I keep hinting at this information that we're trying to get across. What are we trying to say? Well, the theme of an event is not the message. The message is what you want people leaving with. The theme might be rise to the top, or another cheesy cliche one that we've all heard over and over again. But the message for rise to the top is get your butt in gear. So here are 3 laws of what a message is. Attendees will or should think it when they leave. It must be meaningful to attendees, and it must be one sentence. So you first have to define that message before you can begin designing an experience. So here's kind of our view on our design process. So we have our designer who has to keep these things in mind, the message, the timeline, the budget, the palette, which we'll talk about in a second, obviously the client's wants. But then they have to get into the mindset of the attendee as they do their experience design and look at the experience and the event design through the attendee's eyes. Now, this is going to be a radical concept. And for those of you that are internal planning or in a role where you're planning internal meetings, I encourage you to stop thinking about planning for management or what their objectives are and start designing for your attendee and think about what it is that they want. Because all too often as a design agency, we design for those that are signing at the dotted line, and we should really be designing for the attendee. So why? That's a pretty dramatic change of thinking. Well, it's pretty simple. Attendees fill out surveys. And if those surveys are good, you get your budget back, and everybody keeps their job, and the event happens year after year. No attendees, no budgets, no events, no jobs. So it's common sense. We have to design for the attendees. Now, strategic experience design is where we combine both thinkings. We take the message that our clients want us to deliver, such as this is the best educational event ever, with what the attendees want. And so here to say in corporate speak, strategic experience design equals greater return on investment for both clients and attendees. So let's talk about coffee. I am all for stealing strategies and information and research from other industries. I think it's the only way we can really learn because there's not a lot of science out there that is specified for the event industry. So we have to borrow from other industries that are doing research. And one of those industries is retail design. So I have two books I want to recommend during this presentation, other than my own, of course. The Starbucks Experience is one of them. Michelli did an amazing job interviewing the founders of Starbucks and their executive level individuals to figure out what was the formula that they used to create this experience around drinking coffee. So on the left, we have Joe's Coffee Shop on 5th and whatever. On the right, we have Starbucks. On the left, we have questionable furniture, maybe flickering fluorescent lights. I like to imagine that there's a fly buzzing around the head of the person behind the cashier. But their coffee may be amazing. On the right side, we have Starbucks. Dramatic lighting, comfortable seating, employees that are trained in customer service. They might bring in local musicians for that local flair. They're creating an experience, and we pay for that experience. The coffee may be the same quality at both places, but one of them is only charging 75 cents, and one is charging $4.75, or wherever you're at, it may be even much higher. So people are willing to pay for an experience without even realizing it. They love that experience so much that they're going to shell out the cash for that. And now we create the connotation between the Starbucks experience and the coffee, and now we'll go through the drive-through, pay the same amount without the experience because we've made this connection. So the next book, this is a classic, and I'm sure a lot of you on the call have read this before. There's an updated version of The Experience Economy, and it's on iTunes, and now it's an audiobook also, which is wonderful for those of us that drive a lot or have a long commute. So the experience economy has this great analogy for the perceived value of experience design, and that is through celebrating a child's birthday. So I'm going to do a very quick, condensed version of this story, but we start off with a mother who wants to celebrate her child's birthday, and I'm going to make up the dollar amount and the time, so just bear with me. But she wants to make a birthday cake to celebrate her child's birthday. So say we're in the 30s, and she goes to the store, and she spends maybe 25 cents for the raw ingredients to make a cake. She goes home, she makes a cake, they celebrate the birthday, job accomplished. A couple decades down the road, a similar situation, they don't have time or they don't know how to make the cake from scratch, so they go buy a boxed mix. Now we're spending $3. Then a little bit further down the line, both parents are working, they're driving home, they forgot to get something for the birthday, which would be horrible parents, by the way. So they stop by the grocery store, they buy a cake, slap their child's name on top, and now they've spent $25. But the goal is still the same, celebrate the child's birthday. But then something weird happens whenever we get into the experience realm. Now all of a sudden our budget has shot up to $200 plus, and this is for Chuck E. Cheese or Gaddy Town or whatever your big party place is in your location. But it's because people are willing to pay for that experience, but the goal is the same: celebrate the child's birthday. So this analogy is showing you that it's the same goal, but once we enclose it inside of an experience, people are willing to pay for it, and they value it so much. So continuing to learn from other industries, experiential marketing is huge, and it's only going to get bigger. And so here's a couple real fast examples of some fun experiential marketing that has been proven to be very successful. This one is for Caribou Coffee. We're attacking a couple of senses. We've got the heat coming down, so that's touch. We've obviously got the visual, but this is a true experience being inside of this. Now, questionable whether or not it's a good thing to be standing inside of an oven, but the effect is there. This next one, now this may have been faked for a commercial, but the concept is very cool, and that was transforming Angry Birds into a real-life Angry Birds, where people would use phones to play the game, but in reality it's actually happening in front of them. So talk about really bringing people inside of a brand. And this one was kind of a fun one. This was for Volkswagen, and they had a promotion going about bettering the world and so forth. And so this was, they converted a stairwell into an actual musical instrument. So as people walked up the stairs, that played music, and they claimed that it increased stair usage by 66%. And that's because it was an experience. It wasn't just walking up the stairs, that you were making music as you went. And here's kind of our poor man's version of that in the event world. Still very cool, very, very effective. Doesn't play music, but looks cool. So, how do we do experience design? Now we'll get into the meat of it. So what does it look like? Well, we've defined our message with our client. We've helped our client figure out what it is that they want to say. What do they want attendees saying whenever they leave? Now we have to start working with them to develop a look and feel. Now, more often than not, and it looks like somebody's having some audio issues. I'm so sorry. I will try and speak more clearly. The design deck is a tool to help non-creatives speak creative. And what I mean by that is they've got so much going on in their head, and they may not be able to translate what it is that they're looking for to really help you as a designer. So this is a tool that lets you go through step by step to get them speaking the right language. And this is a free service on our website. This is not a sales thing. We don't make any money off of this. Our whole philosophy is I would never have learned the event industry if somebody had not been kind and taught me by word of mouth from their experience. And so that is our marketing campaign, is to give this information away for free. So check out our website with the link below, and there's a virtual design deck that you can use at no cost. So step one on this deck concept. By the way, if you want to make your own cards, we don't sell them, but just email me after the presentation, and I can send you the Illustrator files, and you can have them printed yourself. So step one, choose 2 cards. But you'll notice there's a little tape recorder in the bottom there, and that's very, very important to have this recording going on while you're going through this exercise, because you're going to be looking for nuances while they make choices that's going to give you a hint of what they're really looking for that they may not even realize. And so as we choose cards, we're not going to just quickly choose 2. We're going to go card by card and say, what about this card? What do we think? Yay or nay? Why? Tell me why this color doesn't work for what you're going for. And these colors don't have to be the brand or the event colors. They represent the mood and vibe of the experience that we want to create. I know, sounds cheesy, sounds high level, but it works and it gets them talking. So the next we're going to choose line, 1 line card. So it's my opinion that every design, any design or composition can be summed up with a series of lines. So we've made 12 here for people to choose from. But again, it's just to get them talking. Why do these straight lines work? Why don't they work? Is this cube representative of what you're wanting to people to feel and experience? And you work your way down, 1 card at a time, picking some, discarding others. And then you do the same with the mood, down to 1 card. Then you go down to the materials. Now this one actually may come into practical use as far as the designs go. But then in the end, if you use the online virtual tool that I referenced, you get this nice little form that you get to fill out. And each one of these paragraphs here is completely editable. So you take your recording, you look for common trends, then you go in there and you fill in all the information. Now you've got a nice document to present back to your client to say, here's what we discovered from our exercise, and here's what we're recommending for your look and feel based on our conversation. So then we input this discovery, and we dump it into our design palette. Now, every industry has their own version of this. This is one that we've designed specifically for experiential design and for what we want. But you might call it a mood board, you might call it a sample board or material board, but this is our version. And so on the left here, you see we have visual materials, and at the top we have the basic brands, their color scheme, their logo, maybe their fonts. And back on the left there, these might be pulled from the cards that you chose, or they might be better images that are saying the same thing. But here are your material choices. Then next to that you have the brand imagery, which might be your show logo. And then beneath that you have your lines and then some inspirational pictures. Now, all you're creating is a visual map. And you might do multiples of these and have the client sign off on which one they like the most. And then once you have that, it is set in stone. Anytime you get lost on your design, you come back to this and you stare at it until you get back on track. And this is great for if you have teams that people are coming in and out of, to get them back in the same creative mindset as you want them to be to stay on target for what the client's looking for. So remember mind maps from the 90s? I still use them. I still love them. We have a dry erase board, and for every design we do mind maps. And this is one I've been building for a little while that covers the gamut of experiential event design and presentations, because that's our forte is presentations or pitches. So when you download this, hopefully you'll be able to read the smaller text. But this is great for if you just get stuck in a corner when you're brainstorming to kind of remind you of some elements to think about. So this is where we're going to start getting into our completed system. So this is the first time we're sharing this with the world. But so the next step in the process is you want to get into the mindset of the attendees. And one way to do that is this chart that we're working on called the IPC chart. So every attendee, whenever they arrive at an event or a meeting or whatever scenario you're designing, they have immediate wants, professional wants, and childlike wants. Immediate wants include charging devices, going to the bathroom, food, rest and relaxation after walking at the airport or being crammed in between two people on the airplane. They also want information. They want to know what the plan is, what the schedule is. They might want email access. Then professional wants, networking, education, sell, promote, get cutting-edge information. Then childlike ones, be entertained, see new things, have fun, make memories. Then, once we have that in mind, we begin the final step. And this is what we're going to dub the XP3 map. Very cool, catchy name. So this happens in 3 phases. There are 3 areas that we're going to address on this map as we start thinking about. And you would do this for each area of your event that you're designing. Step 1 is you're going to identify the zones of the space. And we're going to come back. So you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the census? It's going to come back. Don't worry. Circle back. So step 1 is the zones here. We have our entryways. We have our focus, which is the stage and the screens at the top of the screen. We have our seating, which is obvious. We have our waiting areas, which in a general session setting would be like out in the lobby before the doors open. But registration, it might be the lines in front of the registration desks. We have admin staff or backstage, which is the A's. And then we have our perimeter. So we've identified our zones, and it's my belief that these zones can be found in just about any scenario where we're designing an event. So step 1, identify your zones. Step 2, start working in the attendee experiential wants, their immediate wants, their professional wants, their childlike wants. How can we incorporate those into the design? So here I have at the bottom, I have maybe some power bars. Power and internet are the gold standard right now for the event world. Everybody wants power. Everybody wants internet access. So let's give it to them. And also I always like to use the comparison of, it's like when you're at the airport and you see people sitting on the floor by the wall, like they're looking for water, like they've crossed a desert and they're just dying of thirst and they're charging their device. So we're trying to offer that to people now in the ballroom so that they don't leave the space. They can actually sit in the back, charge their device, and still be focused on what they came for. So another immediate need might be food. So we have a beverage station. Professional ones. Maybe we might have some video walls that allows for tweeting and some additional information or for networking. Maybe you have a business card map where people can go put their business cards up on a magnetic map so that people can see where everybody's from. And then childlike ones. Maybe we'll introduce an experience tunnel on the entryways, or make the tunnel something very, or the entry something very cool with a video and lighting, and to make it something that they have not seen before. And then obviously on stage, professional and childlike ones are covered because we maybe have entertainment plus the actual content of the event. So all this tool is trying to do is to get you thinking experientially. Then our next step, so while we're in the immediate ones, the IPC, here's a couple examples of some stuff that we're doing. So here are the power bars on the bottom right that I'm talking about. So this is for a design that we just got done doing. So these are one concept of a power bar that now we're going to start including in the back of the ballrooms. And then there's a new company that I've just come across called Totally Mod, and it's very, very cool modular furniture that is designed for users to be able to sit down and charge their device, use a computer. So cool company. But this is all starting to think in that mindset of what does the attendee want. And then taking that to the next level, here's just a video wall that has some tangible elements. It's got video content, it's got backlit graphics, we've got power bars. So this kind of covers all three. They're seeing things that they have never seen before, so they're being educated. They've got power. They can network with the people that they're sitting with. It's got childlike because it's just cool to look at and it's fun and entertaining. So this type of product, well, you might just be thinking it's a video wall. Whenever you design it and you think of all these elements, you're creating a full experience. So the third level of the map is obviously bringing in the messaging. So then we go sense by sense of looking how can we bring in our message. And our message for this example is the best educational event of the year. So for site, obviously we've got our screens, we've got the front of the stage, but we also have the perimeters for branding, for signage, maybe just some mood lighting to really enhance the atmosphere that we're going for. The sound system's pretty obvious, but we might also want to have, like I said, experiential tunnels, which I'm going to show you a picture of in a second, that might have their own sound or their own voiceover that kind of sets the tone as people walk into the space. Now, smell, once again. You have scent machines, you have air fresheners. I would always do smell in a contained area. When I spoke at the World Event Congress in Vegas, we went and tried to do every scent, and I had a little scent tree, like the ones you hang in your car on every desk. And the minute everybody opened those up, I mean, it was like, bad idea. And everybody has in their mind this connotation of that smell being fake and phony and just not right, which makes people uncomfortable and not like it. So fortunately, we provided plastic bags, and the smell went away pretty quick. But you can get higher-end machines, you can get higher-end smell air fresheners, so you can add like a very crisp winter fresh or breezy air smell as people walk in through the entryways to kind of give them that nice, pleasant smell as they walk into the door. So it is possible to design smell. And then taste, obviously, in the back with the food and beverage. That's in a general session setting, that's probably the best you're going to be able to do. Let's see. Next. Oh, so here's an example of an experience tunnel that we did for Girl Scouts for their 100th anniversary. And this one was a great project. We have a history wall that tells a whole story. We've got products in the displays. And this was done partnered with Freeman. And so you walked in, and what's funny is I was on site setting this one up, and I got stuck in the corner right as they opened the gates to the expo hall as 5,000 women came streaming through this to the expo floor. And I don't know if it's exhaustion or what, but it was so moving to hear everyone just ooh and awe as they walked through this, and how emotional it was for them to see the entire history of this organization as they're walking through, that I got teary-eyed standing in the corner. So they can be very, very powerful. And then the next one here really covers all of the senses. And this was a concept for an experience lounge just inside of a ballroom before you got into the main area. And so this one here kind of covers all of them. The beverage bar you can't see, but people could get coffee and tea and water while they sit and relax. And this was to accommodate people who always go off on their phone during the middle of a presentation, to keep them in the space so they could at least hear the presentation, finish their stuff, and go back in. But this one covered all the senses, so this would be a true experience lounge. So putting it all together, and I'm just about out of time here, determine the message. Work with your client to develop a clear message. One sentence. Attendees should think it when they leave, and it must be meaningful to the attendees. build your design palette, build your maps to help you think about each space and from an experiential standpoint. Then all the elements that you discovered that you determined you want on your maps, then you circle back and you apply your design palette to those elements to design them. So now we have this whole system. We develop the message, we design our design palette, we identify what elements we want where, and then we use the design palette to design those elements. And lastly, enjoy the experience. So I know that was high level and we kind of sped through it, but that's the system. And if you have any questions, please take down my information. I promise I won't try and sell you. But thank you very much for your time. And Barbara, back to you.
Thank you, Troy. Absolutely fascinating, some of what you presented. I want to encourage you. We do have a few minutes, so if you have a couple of questions you want to jot down, please do use the console. I have some here I'm going to ask Troy. Also wanted to encourage everyone to take our survey on the console as well. So, Troy, quick observation. I'm planning a meeting in April, and I'm already thinking charging stations, crisp scent, and food and beverage. So you got me. But quickly, one of the attendees said it seems like you need a really big budget to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Not at all. And this is, obviously what I'm showing you here is we tend to cater to very large crowds, but this can easily be applied to small groups. Experience design does not have to be expensive. It's a different way of thinking about design. And here's an example for that Girl Scout show, which did have a huge budget, but here's one tiny thing that got the most social media hits. We went in, and to every bathroom stall, but the sign outside of a bathroom in the entire convention center, I think there was like 10 or 12 of them, we went and put a little tiny sash, green sash, over the chest of the female emblem to represent, like the Girl Scouts. And that was such a huge hit that I forget how many impressions they had, but it was ridiculous how many people took out their phones and took pictures of that. And that is what we call Easter eggs, like little things that people don't notice right off the bat, but when they do, they're excited by them. And that costs maybe 3 cents per piece, if that. And so that's just experiential thinking. So it does not have to be expensive. It can be just clever thinking and thinking in a different way.
Okay. Another question is some meeting owners are not as willing to include at least one of our attendees in this type of meeting design part of the process. So how do you get buy-in from the people from your clients to do some of this stuff?
Absolutely, and well, obviously that takes relationship building and trust. But this can be a difficult sell on some clients, but we're winning them over. And the way we're doing that is just showing them this type of presentation and showing them the benefits of other industries. The Starbucks story is a dead ringer, and it wins them over every time because everybody has that impression of how whether you like Starbucks or not, how amazing the experience is around the brand and what a good job they've done with that. So by using language like that and saying, it's all about getting your attendees to come back, and the best way to do that is create an experience that they love and that they want to come back to. So experience design is saying, I know you have a message that you want to sell, event host, but I'm going to tell you how to look at it from the attendee's perspective and how to strategically deliver that message in a way that's meaningful to them. So it's just using the correct language and kind of holding their hand and easing them into it. And a lot of these kind of concepts you can implement in small doses each year.
Right. Just start is the idea. Just start. There's so much here to just start tomorrow with. So there are other questions. I will be in touch with those attendees and see if I can get Troy to answer them to you directly. And you can download the presentation right on your console. If you have any further questions about that, certainly we're willing to help. I want to take just a quick second again to thank everyone who attended, to thank Troy so very much for this really useful information, and to thank our sponsors, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, SLS Hotel and Casino, the Mirage Las Vegas, and win Encore. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.